Richard Villanova was the kind of man that other guys aspired to be like. A tall, powerful, domineering man with Greek godlike features, possessed a prosperous company that employed 20% of the town's workforce, had 2 girls after marrying the most attractive woman in the neighborhood. Everyone in the town adored Richard, who was well known for his participation and philanthropy. Every girl in town dreamed of marrying a man like Richard, and every guy wanted to be in his shoes. And he was only 35 years old, and he had it all. 10 years ago, he'd married Vanessa and her twin girls. His wife loved society and the popularity and fame she got from marrying Richard. There were many jealous wives, but overall, she was loved for the endless hours of work and volunteer work she gave to the town. Vanessa was known as a devoted wife and loving mother, and was looked up to by others. She lived for banquet dinners, county club luncheons, and being looked up to by others. Vanessa came from a lower-class background and quickly adapted to the lifestyle of the rich and famous. Each year, the town recognized one woman as Woman of the Year at a banquet attended by the town's nobility. This is the town's highest honor, and this year's winner was Richard's wife, Vanessa. She received the award for all her work with the church, fundraising for charity and community involvement. The fact that she was married to Richard didn't lessen her chances. I sat at one of the dinner tables in front of the awards stage with my wife and enjoyed the great food, wine, and people. My wife and I enjoyed the support and warm feelings of the people of the town. Everyone loved and cared for each other, which is common in small towns. We all knew each other and cared about everyone's well-being. We were all connected. Tonight's stage had a small podium and a large 6-foot video screen that was different from previous years. Several 165-centimeter monitors were set up along the side walls, so everyone could see what was going on, which seemed odd since the presentation usually lasted less than 30 minutes. We watched as Richard took the stage and turned to listen to him. The tuxedo that Richard was wearing could not hide his broad shoulders and arms. We watched. The man was massive, with the face of George Clooney. I saw all the wives, including mine, smile when they saw him walk up on stage. Richard was introduced and given a standing ovation for all his work in the community. He was a great supporter of the town, and everyone loved him. It was like having an NFL Hall of Fame player or movie star in your presence. His charm and charisma were uncommon. Richard expressed his gratitude to the audience and expressed his sense of honor at being able to present the Woman of the Year award. As we observed, he called Vanessa up to the platform. As the audience applauded and applauded, knowing that their favorite duo was ready to perform, he kissed her and took her hand. Richard continued to hold her hand and watch the presentation on the 6-meter screen and 165-centimeter displays throughout the auditorium. Richard flicked the remote, and the first image appeared on the screen. It was their wedding photo, and we heard the women in the audience sigh loudly and romantically. The next picture showed 2 little twin girls, and the women continued their adoration. As the images came up, Richard said a few nice words about each of them, making them come alive. It was heartfelt, and I was even touched by the images. Richard continued, and now the images showed Vanessa and what she has done for the community over the past year. There were social events and photo shoots at her country club. Richard stopped the image of Vanessa at the country club dressed in one of her ball gowns and gently addressed the crowd. What a lucky man I am to have this loving and beautiful woman as my wife. He turned and kissed her tenderly, and the women just watched enviously. The men looked at the pictures of Vanessa and wished they were Richard. A few more pictures of Vanessa as a school board member. Her pictures in the church choir, pictures at the church bake sale, her charity events, her help with fundraising for the orphanage, pictures with the children in the hospital, all showing that she was truly a cornerstone of our community. Richard then made things even more personal and introduced the people who were important to him. In his deep voice, still holding Vanessa's hand, he began his introduction. I would like to introduce Vanessa's 2 daughters, Amanda and Jessica. please stand up," followed by applause from the crowd. "Her mom and dad, Jerry and Mary, please stand." Another burst of applause from the crowd. Richard continued. "In addition to all that my loving wife does for the community, she has also kept her job as a sales manager to keep her business education relevant and to keep in touch with her boss, John Benson. Vanessa just loves working under him. John, please stand up. John, thank you so much for looking out for my wife and the mother of our children when she's on the road with you." John stood up and quickly sat down, looking out of place, which seemed a little strange, and didn't get a round of applause. Richard was now on a roll and had completely captured the attention of the audience who were waiting for Vanessa's response. He now had his arms around Vanessa's waist and was lovingly cradling her against him. They really did look like the perfect couple. He kissed her again and began, "I'm sure you all know that I love this community, and I have been a great supporter of our charities and will continue to do so. My business has blessed me with a huge fortune, and I love sharing it with our community and doing worthy causes. I have lived my life with a belief in integrity and trust, which I try to teach my girls. I bring this up because, my friends, there have been many scammers among us, and I cannot hide or lie about what I have discovered over the past year." Richard clicked the remote control and the video started. I noticed that he was now hugging Vanessa tighter than before, and the reason for this soon became clear. Holding the microphone, he turns to his wife and sees two people at dinner on the video. "Here you see my beautiful wife at a romantic dinner at an expensive restaurant. You can see how my beautiful wife likes to give her love, but unfortunately, she doesn't give that love to me." Suddenly, the camera zooms in on the couple kissing a long, loving kiss as they sat together. "This is my loving soon-to-be ex-wife, Vanessa, the mother of our children and this year's Woman of the Year, along with her boss, John." There was a sepulchral silence in the room, and Vanessa's face reflected confusion. He continued, "Now this video shows John and Vanessa kissing in a bar in public. Oh, here's another one of them getting really cozy. They make a cute couple, don't you think?" Vanessa was heard telling Richard to stop the video, but it continued. The video changed again, and now they were standing by the elevators, hugging and kissing with John's hand on her ass, waiting for the elevator and hinting that they were headed upstairs for sex. The video stopped with John's hand holding her ass, and Richard spoke as Vanessa was in complete shock and fear. "This is my favorite scene when they head out for a nightcap. John seems to be enjoying himself, and like I said, Vanessa, my wife, loves working under John's direction. I can't share the other videos I have because they are too provocative, but you can only imagine what they reveal." The audience gasped. Some women clasped their mouths with their hands, some sat with their mouths open. John's wife looked at her husband with disdain as Richard continued. He turned to John and said, "Thank you, John, for ruining my marriage, destroying my family, and revealing the truth of who my wife and you despicable human beings are. Vanessa, my soon-to-be ex-wife, you hurt me more than I can ever describe. You took my love and trampled on it. You lied and disrespected me and your children, and that is unforgivable. You lied to our community, your children, the church, and me." Vanessa was now crying and trying to break free, but Richard wouldn't stand for it. He wanted her to face the community that loved her and face them for who she was. "So, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce your Woman of the Year, Vanessa." As he spoke, he said, More and more videos of John and Vanessa appeared on all the screens around the room, showing in high definition the loving couple cheating on their spouses and their community. Finally, he turned to her and said, "No, honey, I can't in good conscience give you the Woman of the Year award, but I can give you this. Your divorce papers. It's over between us." Richard handed Vanessa the envelope and put the microphone in her hand, then walked back to his table with the twins and her mom and dad. Everyone sat in shock and complete silence. Vanessa stood frozen in place in front of the town, tears streaming down her face. Finally, she looked up at the crowd, and her body physically shook. She simply apologized to everyone and hoped they could forgive her. Then she looked at her husband's table and apologized to him. She then dropped the microphone and walked out of the room as fast as her heels would allow. Vanessa signed the divorce papers, and the divorce became effective. Vanessa would walk out of the marriage with the property she entered it with, as well as $2,000 a month in alimony. The house belonged to Richard, so she needed to move in with her parents until she could find a place of her own. Along with her community and friends, her children were infuriated by their mother's betrayal and hardly spoke to her again. Richard loved the girls and made sure that their mother's betrayal did not affect their future. Richard paid for the children's college tuition and other expenses and stayed close to the girls. Eventually, Vanessa became shunned in town and moved on to work full-time as a real estate agent in another town where her reputation was not good. John's wife divorced him and received a large settlement, alimony, and child support, leaving him with barely enough money to live on. His company was forced to fire him due to public pressure, and John ended up selling used cars to make ends meet. Richard became even more successful in his business by directing his contempt and animosity towards it. He married his high school love and was elected mayor of the town. Vanessa was never seen by him again. The twins visited their mother only on holidays and kept close to Richard. Vanessa accepted her fate and moved on. She started to understand why she had acted as she had. John was no match for her husband. He wasn't handsome, and he didn't have a big penis, which is a common reason we hear about cheating. No, John was nothing compared to Richard, but John was rough on her in bed, and she needed but missed what she had with Richard. Her husband was a romantic and made love to her. Tender and wonderful love. But she wanted something Richard couldn't give her. Unbridled sex. Rough and sloppy sex that John gave her twice a month. It had been the perfect balance until she finally got caught. She was now grieving daily for all the people she had harmed, including Richard and her daughter's respect. The life she had lost was not worth the fuck she'd gotten. What's your opinion about OP? Thanks for joining us in our stories where revenge is served hot. Please consider subscribing to our channel to ensure your next chef remains loyal. Tune in for the next one to get your revenge appetite fulfilled. If you're below 18, hold on, it's not for the faint-hearted.